It's Friday, September 13th, 2024. If you'd like to support our show, it's very easy. All you have to do is go to this URL, supportourshow.com, which is still incredible to me that nobody had. But they didn't. Now I do, which means you can use it to go and find an array of ways to support the show as a whole, Orlando or myself as individuals. So use that URL, go there, and choose whatever path appeals to you most. And as far as I know, the code OZONE, as in the second word in the show title, or the first word in the URL, ozonshow.com, OZONE, as far as I am aware, nobody has reported otherwise, and I have not been told in any official capacity that this is no longer the case, will still get you 2 months free of podcasting on Libsyn, which is where we've been for, I believe, the entirety of the show. So, I'm not being paid. There are no kickbacks. This is not a supported or promoted post.
But I'll take kickbacks. That's fine.
I will take kickbacks if they are forthcoming. But we've been there, I think, the whole time. So I have no complaints. And anything that's show segment related, anything else? No, I think that's probably it for the moment. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. So promotional segment over.
So you saw that Ford put in a permit for a car-based advertising system?
Of course they did.
They've
been talking about it for years. So.
Oh, I know. And the thing is, like, the closer they move to it, the more I start to look at, like, the older used market of, like, you know, fucking classic cars. I said to my wife, I was like...
No, that's all going to be... There's going to be a secondary market of people who, for $50 or $100, will kill all the stuff reports back
Well, that's the thing. I said to my wife, I was like, the fuse will be easy to get to it first because they won't think about it. Because, you know, like, there's that board under your dash where you can usually get most of the fuses. I was like, first they'll put it there, and when people start pulling it, then they'll start moving it deeper into the car. And at one point, it'll be, like, tied into, like, the engine itself where the car won't run. You know, unless you've got the ad thing. But I wonder how they're going to do it. Are they going to have ads at you, or is it going to be like this thing where to get like before your car starts, watch 30 seconds of ads? You know.
I mean, they've talked about different approaches. The one that seems the most likely is that, for example, your in-car entertainment system will either give you an audio ad or display something unless you either pay additionally or you use one of their preferred services. Yeah, something like that.
See, they're going to go like the iPad, or no, what do you call it? The Nook, not the Nook. I'm going to name every device with the goddamn thing.
No, the Kindle.
The Kindle route, yeah, where you can buy the Kindle without ads, or you can buy the Kindle with ads. Right? Yeah. But are they going to make cars cheaper then? Or are they just going to make cars more expensive so you can get them without the ads?
No, the cheaper cars are the ad-based. Oh, yeah, the ad-based cars will be considered the base models. Yeah. That will be, the lowest sticker price of all.
Yeah, it's like they can't just leave any. They refuse to leave any money remotely on the table. They need to make sure they scrape every last penny from you.
Stephanie Sterling has a great saying, which I don't know if she originated or not, but she says it a lot, and it is that the thing about capitalism is these companies don't want some of the money, they want all of the money. And as soon as you bake that into every decision, it makes it very easy to understand why this will never end and never stop as long as there's any way for them to get even 5 cents more out of you. I want to say a penny
and they don't
because
care.
they want to discontinue the pennies.
Yeah, and they don't care how it cripples individuals. They just want all the money.
No.
At some point or another, they're going to destroy the customer base enough that no one can afford to buy their shit.
No. What they've seen is that there is a shrinking of the middle class, which has been going on for a while. And what is instead happening is that people with money have more and more money, and those people don't care because what's an extra $1,000 a year to a billionaire?
So they're just going to start shifting everything specifically to like the ultra rich.
Right, probably.
Yeah.
And everybody else won't be able to afford to not do it. You'll have to because you won't be able to do anything else. So that's what they care about.
I don't know. I do worry that there is a point where people just can't afford anything.
Well, we're already kind of there.
There's a level of poverty that it just feels, there are days where it feels perverse that they're pushing some of the technologies they are, and we're still dealing with the fact that so many people are starving, and that so many people are homeless, and there's so many mental health issues and school shootings. I take school shootings very personally. The school shooting that happened in was it
Georgia, I believe.
Virginia?
No, I think it's Georgia.
Was it Georgia?
I think so.
Yeah, that is a friend of my wife's
Georgia
child school.
Yeah. Oh wait, Georgia High School. Does that mean in Georgia, or was that the name of the? Hold on, you could be. No, Winder, Georgia. So no, I didn't know if that was a name.
So that was the high school of my wife's friend's child. And she got a text that was like, "There's a live shooter in the school." And I was like, "Yeah, there you go." It's like, the shit just gets closer and closer.
Hey, it's a shame these things are a fact of life now. What are you gonna do?
Yeah. Well, I hate that. Is it the Onion? It has that great headline.
Country says, "Oh man, what is it?" Country
school
says
shootings,
it's too bad that this has to happen in the only country where this always happens.
There's no way to stop this. Says country where
only country where it happens,
where school shootings happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they went. Yeah, and it's just So sometimes I find it very perverse. I love technology. I like trying to make life better. But I feel like sometimes we're beyond the point of making things better, and we're just focusing on just making money,
We are.
I know. Yeah.
That's the point.
Just want money. We don't care. Yeah.
I've said this a number of times. Wealth equals value of a person. If you are not of a certain wealth or monetary standing, you don't matter. That's it. In capitalist countries, anyway, that's what it is. It's all about how much money.
And the thing is, and I gotta tell you, like, I'm almost done with that Doctorow book, Walk Away.
Yeah.
And the book took a turn on me. I'm near the end, and a lot of people are dying. A lot of people are dying in this book, and it's really bumming me out. I realized I had a Philip K. Dick moment with Doctorow, and I give him credit because there's not a lot of authors I get that where I'm like invested enough that I'm actively bummed out. But a lot of that book is about, a lot of sci-fi is about is the now. It's the futurist now, right? So that book, there's a lot in there about capitalism and what do countercultures look like, and the people who want to keep the status quo because that's where the money is for them, and it creates this fascinating no way out situation that you're reading his book and you're like, well, this is science fiction, and then you stop and you're like, not completely. Like a lot of this is kind of now,
It's Gibson-esque.
And the thing is, what was very funny is that I recently had a lot of road tripping. And I was listening to Neuromancer again because I needed something to kind of clear my head, and Neuromancer is like I would call it my safe space because but it's a book I know so well, so I was like, yeah, I'll listen to it for a bit.
It's your mental. It's your mental Ricola, or Ricola. How are we supposed to say?
I don't even know. And actually,
You know what Ricola
what it
is, right?
is
It's the stuff that's supposed to clear your sinuses.
yeah. The
Ricola.
commercial, yeah. I actually wanted to listen to the Neuromancer so I could then go on to listen to the rest of the Sprawls trilogy, because I realized I hadn't really gone to those in a while. And you read those recently, so I thought it'd be
I'm in the middle of Iduro right now. I'm at like the 60% mark.
Oh, you're on the Bridge trilogy.
No, that's what I'm saying. Is I finished those and went straight into the Bridge.
So I thought that I
somewhat preferred the Bridge over Sprawl. So I'm like, let me read those.
Oh no! I prefer Neuromancer, but as a trilogy, I prefer the Bridge.
No, that's
trilogy.
what I'm saying. So I'm reading them like back to back to get the whole thing.
Yeah, there's a strange kind of way that's all tied into itself. You know what I mean?
Well, I don't know that I've ever read them this close together. That's the thing, is I've read them as a trilogy, but I think I always put space between them.
Yeah, well, I think I've always felt like you're supposed to, because there's space in the book.
That's interesting, because I'm getting the IV experience where it's just firing right in. So
yeah, well, because like the not Idoro, what's the last one? Altamar's Parties. I think that there is a space between Idoro and Altamar's Parties.
Yeah.
You know, whereas Idoro and Virtual Light, I think those are very close. You know, like. Yeah, in the same way that...
I mean, some amount of time has passed, but I actually like the fact that he never makes clear how long.
Well, it's up to you, isn't it?
Because one of the characters was on the Bridge in Virtual Light and is now working with the Australian guy in Iduro, and you don't really know how long has happened because he was just on the Bridge in the last book, and now suddenly he's in a completely different country working with a completely different person. So
time has passed.
Sometime. Anyway, sorry.
But listening to Neuromancer, there's a lot of the things that Doctorow is talking about in his book that were like already there in Neuromancer. You know, Gibson was writing during the 80s when you had like, you know, Reaganomics and all this stuff, and you know, you feel it. You feel that capitalist burn in that book, where you know you have these cloned orbital super rich families, you know, where there's this great line where
Ashir test pool.
Yeah, where it's technically a corporation, but you know, a share of that company hasn't been on the market for almost 100 years. You know, it's an old family, you know, low orbit, you know, corporate entity type of thing.
I gotta tell you, by the way, Gibson might be the author who has the most names of companies and groups that have stuck with me permanently.
Oh yeah.
Like I will look at computers in my brain. I'll look at it and I'll be like, Ono Sendai. Like it's in my head.
Ono Sendai.
Yeah, like Ashir Test Pool is such a neat name. It's a lyrical name. He has so many of these really great names for things, more than any other author I can think of.
The Panther Moderns.
Yeah, or what were the oh God, the ones who were like made out after Count Dracula. I don't remember what the gang's name is. I think of it occasionally, but all the gang names that he comes up with and all this stuff.
I love the Touring Police. I always remember that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's great. Like I said,
but I mean, that's the thing. He had a very kind of. A lot of people complain about Neuromancer because Gibson doesn't explain stuff, right? Where he'll drop a technology and he'll show you what it does, or he'll kind of leave it on the periphery. He just name checks it as he goes, and a lot of people hate that because they're like, "Well, I want to know what it is," and it's kind of like, "Well, you don't necessarily need to know what it is.
No.
Do you know how every technology works in the modern day?" And like, I like that he plays things kind of fast and loose and lets the reader have to be like, "Yeah, what is that?" You know.
Well, and often I like the fact that the characters don't all know either. He has characters that look at something and they're like, "I don't know what that is." It's like, and they're always like, it's kind of like the watermelon in Buckaroo. Yeah, I'll explain it later, and then they just never explain it, and it's fine. It doesn't mean anything. It's okay.
Yeah, it's great. But that whole vision of the future, like that, so this book Walkaway, this sometimes Doctorow stuff feels like early Gibson, not in the sense that of the writing, but the time frame. Do you know what I mean? Like, early, some of Doctorow's books feel like they are on their way to where Neuromancer already is. And I find that fascinating. And in itself, You talk about worlds you'd like to occupy. I don't want to occupy the world of the sprawl.
No.
Because it sounds neat, but it's kind of a neon gutter. Unless you're one of the super rich, right?
Yeah.
In fact, I find that there's not a lot of Gibson's worlds that I actually want to occupy.
No, there's an interesting thing with his books where,
like, I wouldn't mind Pattern Wreck, but Pattern Wreck is today.
Well,
you know
yeah,
what I mean?
but no,
like,
even in the other books, even in the Sprawl and the Bridge stuff, there is this interesting narrow band of groups. Like the Bridge sounds like an interesting place to be.
But you're living under the poverty line. Like, that's what it is.
You are, but because the entire ecosystem is like that, you're not within.
But there's a philosophical happiness about it.
That's the thing.
And this is the thing. And Walk Away, that's what it is too. Is people who basically leave. Honestly, it's people who are leaving society to try and form a bridge. That's what the Walkaways are. They're trying to form a bridge culture, right? But they start to challenge the status quo enough that the oligarchs essentially go, yeah, we got to wipe these people out. And that's where I am in the book right now, where they're all getting firebombed. And I feel horrible because a lot of these people are walking around going, well, at least we've got backups. And you're like, no, they're not backups. They're copies, guys.
Right,
they're copies. It's not you. It's a copy. But I'm sitting there going, I hope the copies raise hell because, like, these people are all dying. And that's the thing is, like, the bridge culture is like that. These people who are, they're still part of society, but they've kind of moved it. I mean, like, they're not paying rent. They've basically taken something that's abandoned and made it a home. Sometimes I feel like Gibson's governments are more benign than Doctorow's governments. Doctorow's, like, governments are, and you know what? It's not even that. It's Gibson's corporations are not as aggressively bad as Doctorow's. Like, Tessier Ashpool is there, but they're not aggressively bad. They fucking own everything, and they have, like, fingers in everything, but they themselves are not aggressively after you. Whereas in a lot of Doctorow's books, especially Walk Away, they're sending mercenaries to kill people. You know what I mean? Like, it's that kind of thing. In Gibson's book, that's more organized crime than the actual corporations. Like the ninja in Neuromancer, he is not a tool of aggression. He is a tool of defense. Somebody steals from Tessier Ashpool, they send the ninja, the clone ninja, to get it back. And at the end of the book, the clone ninja is protecting one of their members, right? But he's not. I mean, I suppose he could, but the way they are portrayed in the book, he's not going out and he's not being aggressive. He's being defensive.
Yeah. Well, even when they get to Lady 3 Jane or whatever.
Yeah.
She's not like a what do you call it, mustache twirling villain. She's just kind of bored, and she's like,
she's a bored space cadet. Yeah.
Then in the next book, because she's been condemned to be virtual the whole time, she's kind of this weird, angry ghost that can't do anything, which is bizarre and interesting that she's been condemned to the kind of a hell of her own making. So I like that, but that's after she's already kind of been beaten. Before that, she just seems like eternally bored. She just doesn't like her dad. That's it.
Yeah.
So you're right though. There is a bored borderline indifference to Gibson's big villains. The small individuals are the actual people doing
the hungry. Yeah, the hungry ones are the trouble. Like Riviera in Neuromancer is the problem. Right. Even though you're working with him, he's a problem.
Oh yeah. Yes. No, he is by far the most dangerous thing in the book.
For a while.
Yeah, I mean, until, of course. But that's the person that Molly is very smart about. No, he's the one to watch.
To switch authors from you there for a second, right?
Sure.
You switch over to Snow Crash, right? Stevenson. Well, there is a weird corporate church thing going on in the background, right? With the babblers and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
But who you're really worried about is Raven.
Raven, baby.
Yeah, Raven's the problem. Raven's a sovereign nation. Like,
yeah. Bob Reif is a very background player for a long time.
Yeah, and he's a problem too.
And many of the traditional villains, which are the best ones, which is Mr. Lee and Uncle Enzo, are heroic in the thing. Like the mob guys.
Yeah,
and the triad are the good guys.
Well, this is a vision of the future where crime has basically become like Disneyland.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's great. That's one of this. God, I fucking love Snow Crash. I fucking love Snow Crash.
No, and it is. Snow Crash is one of those great. It's one of those tentpole cyberpunk books. You got Neuromancer. You got Snow Crash. Like Virtual Light is cyberpunk, but it's a different kind of era of cyberpunk. Which is interesting to me, that like you've got these two trilogies this guy wrote that are essentially both cyberpunk but in different time zones of cyberpunk.
Oh, very. And have very different visual kind of feelings to them, even though they are somewhat related.
Yeah.
In their kind of basic blocks. But I always think of Gibson's as slightly staticky. There's always that slight noise if the tracking's off to everything. Whereas Stevenson's stuff is all like jet black background, no desktop wallpaper. It's all just the characters and the big situations, but the background is always black. There is no background. Kind of like what the metaverse is, where it's just a lane of highway against nothing except the things that are along the street.
Well, that's the thing. You get the street in Stevenson's book. You get the cyberspace with Gibson.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I hate to leave out Bruce Sterling, but like, Bruce Sterling stuff, I like his work, but it always felt slightly weaker.
Well, look, there's other great sci-fi authors.
Oh,
certainly, we're not.
No. I'm talking about just like cyberpunk. Like,
oh, sure, yeah.
Main cyberpunk. If just someone said to you, "What cyberpunk novels should I read?"
Oh,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's going to be Gibson and Stevenson. I mean, it's going to be.
Yeah, well, I'm curious. What are because they're the best cyberpunk novels? Horrible typing. For somebody who writes as much as I do, I type like shit.
Yeah, well,
let's see.
That happens.
Recommendations. No, I want a best of list. I don't want.
Well, here
we go.
Bruce
Here we go.
Sterling's going to come up. He'll come up.
This is Goodreads best cyberpunk.
All right, go.
Right?
Let's see.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Number 1 is Neuromancer. Number 2 is Snow Crash. So we fucking nailed it.
Hey! All right.
Now things get a little bit interesting.
Ooh.
Oh wow! I'm not sure.
Wait. Is this specifically cyberpunk? Send me
Link
me the list. Link the list.
This is the best.
Skype.
No. I want to. I don't. I'll give it to you after we do the top 10.
Make sure because I want to put it in the show.
Yeah, because I want to present these to you as we go because I'm not sure I agree with these.
All right. This is a Basquiat situation happening.
Maybe.
That's pre-show.
Best cyberpunk books.
You don't know what we're talking about. Go ahead.
Number 3 is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?
I almost said I wonder if Philip K. Dick shows up in here.
Now here's the thing. I love Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, but I don't necessarily consider that a cyberpunk novel.
You know what? Well, no, because I'm giving it serious consideration. Well, it is because I'm really thinking about it. And
the movie. Here's the thing. The movie, I feel, is more cyberpunk than the short story.
I think you can make a good argument that the book is as well.
You can make the argument. I'm just saying that it definitely doesn't feel like number 3. It feels like peripheral reading.
I was going to say,
cyberpunk.
I think the reason that it's placed so highly is because they're associating it with the movie. However, to be fair to the actual story, the elements of the virtual kind of the mood controlling virtual hardware, which they really never touch in the movie, that's more explored, ironically, in Total Recall 2070.
To be clear, this is a great short story. I'm just saying that in the vein of cyberpunk, it feels like peripheral reading.
Isn't it? It's not short story.
No, it's not. It's a novella. It's really short.
God, I haven't read it in a while. It's considered a novel.
Don't worry. Number 4 is worse. Ready Player One.
Oh yes, you're out. Gone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Now don't be wrong. If somebody said, "What is modern day cyberpunk reading?" I would say that Ready Player One feels like it's a derivative, where it's like somebody who grew up on cyberpunk who wanted to write cyberpunk, right? But I wouldn't put it in a top 10 list of like if I was teaching a class in cyberpunk, Ready Player One would not be there. Ready Player One would be on the list of books you could go investigate on your own afterwards, after we've taught you the core material. And here's the thing: is as we go on, there's a book in here that I really love that I'm also going to kick out. But okay, that was number 4. Number 5.
By the way,
yeah.
I'm going to give you there is a album that was put out.
Yeah.
I want to say it was probably in the 2000s. It
Yeah.
was a album that was a series of covers of Led Zeppelin songs. The reason I know this is because I owned it because Stone Temple Pilots had a song on it.
Oh, wait, I have that album.
Yeah, and their song is not great.
No, but I remember the Stone Temple Pilot one was really good. Is it Dancing Days? Didn't they do Dancing Days?
I believe so, yes. So, if somebody said, here are the greatest rock albums of all time, and they put that album on there, that's Ready Player One.
Covers, yeah.
Yeah.
It's good, but it's covers.
I don't even know if I would say it's good, because it's not, well, okay, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That is the equivalent of putting Ready Player One on this list. As in, come on, give me a fucking break.
Well, hold on. So 5 and 6 are Count Zero and Mona Lisa Overdrive.
Hey, all right. Okay.
Which is right. Now,
which to me, honestly, I would just put the trilogy.
I know. But this is the list, right? So now, here's the thing. Number 7 is one of my favorite books. Probably one of my, probably top 5 books of all time, right? But I don't think it should be on this list either, which is Altered Carbon. Love that book. I don't think it's core. Especially since listen to this. Number 8 is the Diamond Age. And Diamond Age should be above Altered Carbon.
I don't necessarily disagree.
And I love that book.
Well, I mean, some of this comes down to what elements of cyberpunk you prioritize. Yeah. It just depends.
Yeah, I suppose. And I guess the other thing is, well,
let me read you it's far less an affront than Ready Player One.
I'm number 4, right? Yeah. So let me read you the rest of the list.
But go ahead.
So the Diamond Age is number 8, which is a really great book.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Burning Chrome, which is the collection of cyberpunk short stories.
I love short stories.
And Burning Chrome is awesome, and Burning Chrome itself is an amazing story. Yeah, Johnny Mnemonic. Is it New Rose Hotel?
The New Rose Hotel. Yep.
New Rose Hotel. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Now, number 10 is Mirror Shades, the cyberpunk anthology that was edited by Bruce Sterling. That is a great collection.
Sure.
Right? That's the top 10 of this list. After this, you get to a lot of those stuff, and I'm kind of like, okay. Cryptonomicon, I don't consider that to be a cyberpunk book. Virtual Light, Idoru, I do, right? I've never read Helldivers. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it's on the list. Have you read Helldivers?
No.
Hold on a second. I need to know what this is, because I've never even heard of this.
I mean, God. I would put Hardwired ahead of fucking Ready Player One.
I know.
There's so many better. Goddamn. Ready Player One.
Man, yeah, this Helldivers book doesn't feel cyberpunk at all either. Weird.
I mean,
okay.
This is,
Yeah, but then number 15, Pattern Wreck, Hardwired by Walter John Williams. That's
there it is. Should be way higher. That's the one I was just talking about. That should be.
Oh, Hardwired. Yeah.
You would put that ahead of fucking.
And
Ready
here's the
Player
thing:
One.
When Gravity Fails is number 18. When Gravity Fails, to me, is almost as good as Neuromancer at times.
That's again the Ready Player One thing is killing me.
I know, right? And then here, Islands.
It's just killing
hold
me.
on. Number 20 is Islands in the Net by Bruce Sterling, which should be way higher on that list. That's the one that he wrote that is like his tentpole novel. Yeah. All Tomorrow's Parties is number 22. What's wrong with them? All right. So, and here's the thing. I'm not saying that any of these books are bad. I'm saying that in the realm of if someone asked you, what is cyberpunk? Some of those books are not the ones that would come to mind. And now you can look at the list, because once you go beyond 20, it gets a bit insulting.
Well, yeah. I mean, even Wikipedia only has 30 entries. So yeah, it's gonna get authority.
Oh, Random House. Random House has a... So this is where you know a genre is dead. So you want to read cyberpunk? Here's where to start.
Ooh. Yep.
And their number one is Altered Carbon.
I have less of a problem with that than you do. Only because...
Neuromancer was number 3 on that list.
I'm not saying I would tell anybody to start with Altered Carbon. However, when you are talking about a genre that now includes... Ready Player One is a cyberpunk book, so before anybody says, no, it is... Yes, it is. I agree, it is. But it absolutely should not be cracking anyone's top 30.
Yeah, because honestly, Ready Player One feels to me like somebody who grew up reading all the same cyberpunk novels I did, and then said, hey, I want to write something that's an homage to essentially cyberpunk and the movies of my youth. Encomium
is the name of the album. That is the encomium of cyberpunk. It's a cover band. It's a cover album. Okay, that's all it is. So what I'm saying is, we have to reframe our perception to now include the fact that Ready Player One is a consideration as a cyberpunk book, and I'd rather you start with Altered Carbon than fucking Ready Player One.
Oh Jesus! Listen to this though. This is something I didn't know about. So the guy who wrote The Three Body Problem? I cannot pronounce his name.
I have no idea. It's a Chinese name. I have no idea.
Yeah, Cixinliu, right?
She something, sure.
His debut novel was a cyberpunk masterpiece. It's also a bit, a bit apocryphal since it never made it to print. That doesn't mean you can't read it. The digital versions are floating around the internet.
I've heard
Written in 1989, it paints a critical portrait of Mao's China, complete with high tech and low lives.
Gee, I wonder why it never made it to print.
Yeah, now I need to find that.
Yeah. No, it's around. I've never.
This is an interesting. So this is a website called Book Riot, and they have their list of best cyberpunk novels. I don't think they're in any particular order.
What's the name?
Which
of that
I like
book?
that.
The unpublished book. What's it called?
It's called China 2185.
Hold on, that.
But like, there's some good ones on here that I think get overlooked, like The Girl Who Was Unplugged. The Girl Who Was Plugged In by Alice Sheldon. That's a really good novel. That feels very Snow Crash, very cyberpunk. Sinners by Pat Cadigan. Pat Cadigan is a great cyberpunk author that you don't hear a lot about. Like, they get kind of pushed to the back a little bit.
Yeah.
I've never read this one. I should. Trouble and Her Friends by Melissa Scott. Trouble was a name to be feared in cyberspace. When the international law shifted, Trouble and her friends went in their separate ways, logging off and finding other lives. But when a mysterious hacker emerges using Trouble's moniker, the real Trouble dives back into cyberspace to put a stop to it. That sounds like fun.
Yeah.
And then, there's Altered Carbon. Let's see. Oh, I've never heard of this one either. Infomocracy?
I've heard of it. I've never read it.
I'm gonna open this one on another list.
The one that I always hear about, and I have to read it at some point. But it's largely dismissed because the technology is so antiquated to a degree. Is the Shockwave Rider? Have you ever heard of this one?
Oh, no.
Okay, Shockwave Rider is the general.
Oh, but my book, The Private Eye, got in here. The graphic novel, The Private Eye.
Ah, that's nice.
That's a really good graphic novel.
So
that's very post-cyberpunk. Yeah, go ahead.
Shockwave Rider is a kind of a mix of, what's the Philip K. Dick one where everybody's identity is shifting? They made the movie of it. Jesus, why can't I think of it? Undercover.
Scanner Darkly.
Yes, okay. So it's the idea of shifting identities. Everybody's identities change constantly, but all of it is based around telephones. So the main character is a hacker, and he has to keep dialing in to change his identity, which is completely ridiculous now because phones are basically gone.
But this is like 1984. The technology of 1984 is quaint.
Yes,
it's the message of the book that's important.
Right. Well, so what it is it was written in the early 70s, I think. So it is a world in which the internet is everywhere, but the internet never moved past the telephone, which is what makes it appealing to me. Is everything is telephone based because in the 70s that's what I'm sure they thought it would be.
All fiction, all sci-fi is about now, about the now of the author. Let me put it like that.
Yeah.
Right? And what hopes and dreams or what fears they have. But it's always anchored in the time of the author.
Yes. But also, interestingly...
what year? Was it? Wait,
70,
was he written in
70s. I know it's in the 70s. I think it's the early
listen,
70s.
it's a Del Rey book, so you know it's going to be fun.
But the other thing is, I know there's a major plot point where there was a huge earthquake that devastated San Francisco. So I went, whoa, there's a Gibson connect. I mean, I'm not saying he copied it, but I'm like, oh, there's like parallels. I'd be curious.
No, but a lot of people are waiting for San Francisco to go underground.
I was going to say, and it's not like nobody's been predicting it, the big one for 50, 100 years, whatever. I mean, there was one, so obviously they think it would happen again. But
wow, the Shockwave Runner got a science fiction Masterworks collection. Version or whatever.
I've heard of it forever, and it's one of those books I keep meaning to get to it.
I'm gonna have to track myself down a copy of that.
So that's what I'm saying. The idea of it sounds so appealing to me.
I think I'm gonna pick that one up.
Yeah. See.
Yeah. So the science fiction Masterworks collection has a lot of really fun books in it.
Yeah. There you go.
So if you see something it's like a little yellow circle with SF in it, and then beyond that it says Masterworks going down like the side of the cover, give it a read. It'll be fun. It might not be amazing, but it'll be fun. Because I remember when they started doing those.
Like
I
Rebel
bought a ton
Moon.
of those. Was that? Yeah. Well, no, Rebel Moon is not on that list.
No, but I'm saying.
Yeah,
it
Rebel
may not
Moon
be
is
the best
amazing.
book you ever read in terms of its technical things,
but it'll stay with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, this doctorate book, I don't necessarily like this. It's not one of my favorite doctorate books I'm reading. But there's concepts he's playing with that I am very fascinated with. And even though I disagree with him on the immortality thing, where it's like, no, it's copies, I do find all of his theories and all of his ideas fascinating. But also, Doctorow is writing idea books for me. Like, I'm there for the ideas because his characterization is a bit soft-handed.
Well, but and your idea, the characterization you made about the difference in the government and the corporation's intent is just, even if you just hear Gibson talk and you hear Doctorow talk, it's very obvious why that is.
Okay. I'm listening to Gibson read his own book, by the way.
And
actually,
dead. You know, it's
oh
like,
my God, I had a funny thing happen. So you should definitely listen to the Gibson version of Neuromancer that he reads. Just at least find the sections with the Dixie flatline, because the voice modulator they put on Gibson to make him sound like this kind of digital dead person is so perfect for that character. Like,
I will agree that they should use for everything.
Right. So my kids are getting ready for Halloween, and they bought a bunch of like costume stuff, and my son got a voice modulator, and he was screwing with it. And I heard him in the other room, and I was like, "Why am I hearing the Dixie flatline?"
Oh, you must. And use
I went
that
to the
on
other
show at some point.
What's that?
You have to use that on the show.
Oh, I should run it over to me. Yeah, you got the Dixie flatline thing, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is." And I put up to my mouth, and I started doing lines.
Oh, please have him run it to you. I'll wait. Have him run it to you.
Hold on, I will text. I'll text him to see if he can bring it to me. I worry that we'll create distortion because it's
Who cares? Whatever.
Hold on 1 second.
You've got to get that.
Because there's that great line where he's like, "Hey Dixie, do you know what an ROM personality construct is?" He's like, "Sure, firmware construct." And he's like, "Yeah, okay, Dixie, you are an ROM construct." See.
Computer chips. Let me tell you about them.
Yeah. That's just a random sound.
I'm texting him.
Yeah, I want to hear that.
Knows. You bring me your voice modulator.
I want to hear that.
All right, now I have to find the line from the book.
Well, yeah, you can find that in the background.
Hold on, let me find the line really quick. But yes, he was playing with it, and I was like, "That's the Dixie flatline," and then I started doing it like I was the Dixie flatline. Let's see, Dixie flatline. Yeah, I know, it's terrible, right? I need to get a floating mic.
You know what? Honestly, I have noticed that's something nobody seems to care about being on show audio now. I hear it all the time. Nobody cares. I think it just has become used to it or something because nobody seems to care about it. I don't. Fine.
Bring it on over here. I will give this back to you tomorrow.
That's awesome.
No, you're good. Don't worry.
Oh yeah, you can't stay.
You can say hi. You can say hi if you want. You're gonna say hi to strangers. No,
Hello,
he
strangers.
Didn't like that. Thank you.
It's very,
We'll
very
break
good
it.
to see you again, old friend.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go.
Go for it.
I want to see if this just shorts everything out. I need to find the line.
I mean, I wouldn't lean too close to the mic at first, and I'll tell you if it's horrible.
Oh, here we go. Okay, so let's turn this
I
thing
mean,
on.
I can always turn it down, so it won't matter. Oh God, I can hear it.
Ooh,
Oh my
jeez.
God.
Yeah, did you hear that?
I heard it. Yeah, I'm hearing it.
Okay. So yeah, he says, where's the line? I have the line
This
right
is
here
gonna be
too.
great. Go ahead.
It's gonna destroy the mic. That's what's gonna happen.
Oh, go for it.
This is, you know how a ROM personality matrix works? And he says, sure, bro. It's a firmware construct.
Wow. It's not as bad as I thought it was going to be on the mic.
No. Whoa.
Whoa! Whoa!
Come on, show me your dick.
Let's see if that fixes it. Oh no, I fixed it. He put it on like a weird scream mode. There you go.
All right, good.
Can you hear it?
Oh, that's
Okay,
much.
dude.
That's better. That's better.
You are wrong construct. Got me?
Oh man.
I heard that in the other room, and I was just like, "That's the Dixie Flatline."
No,
I
that's
was
great.
like,
That's great.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I love the. I mean, that's very rough. Like I said, I'm
Oh, sure,
amazed it didn't just blow the mic.
No.
But that is one of my favorite parts of his audiobook, and that's something that none of the other audio versions have done. They never got that level of like. And I know it's someone's reading you a book, so you're supposed to just but for some reason, like William Gibson as a deadpan digital voice is the Dixie Flatline.
Yeah, no, I have no disagreement about that. Like I said, they should just take that audio, and in every audiobook, whether it's a different cast or not, that's what they should use. That should always be what delivers the lines. No, I do not disagree even a little bit that should always be used.
Yeah, so it's I definitely think that there is a core cyberpunk education, and then you move out from there, and then you read derivative works, you read edge works, you bring things like that are on the periphery of movement. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, it's you want to be entertained, and there's books like, I'm not saying that like you said, it's not that Ready Player One is not cyberpunk, it's that it's derivative cyberpunk.
Correct.
What made cyberpunk to some degree was that a lot of these people were creating similar works in and around the same time.
Well, the other thing that's baffling about why you would put that, I would even if I thought that Ready Player One was a great book, I would not tell somebody to make that one of the first things they read, because the references are half of what it is. So if you start with that, that's so baffling that you would tell anybody to start now. That would be way down. That's like a greatest hits book.
Well, it's like playing Shadowrun and not understanding what cyberpunk is.
Sure, yeah.
Because Shadowrun is cyberpunk D&D. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And I loved it for that. And what's hard is that there was a whole bunch of Shadowrun novels, and they're all gone. Like, you cannot find them. And the thing was, I hate to say this, but they were a lot of fun. I mean, they weren't good per se, but they were good in the way that, like watching an action B movie is good, where you're like, I know this isn't going to be like the greatest movie I ever watched, but I enjoy this.
This isn't hard-boiled, but it's a hell of a good time. And what do I do?
Exactly. But like these there you go. There's a few you can still find. Shadowrun, the Terminus Experiment. There's still a few you can kind of put together. If you like cyberpunk, read the core stuff and then go for fun. Especially if you like D&D, or if you have like a side thing where you like fantasy like I do. Read Shadowrun, because it hits this spot that you didn't know you had. Where you've got, ogres with Onai Sendai decks, and you've got, orcs and elves that are jacked into the Matrix and shit like that. It's fucking hilarious. The thing that makes me sad about Gibson, the only thing that makes me sad about Gibson, is that because Neuromancer set this tone, so much of it is about crime. So a lot of the people who were writing derivative works, it was always about corporate crime. And no one really started to get into the more, to experiment with weirder ideas therein. You know what I mean? Like, if you really think about it, Neuromancer is a fascinating book because it's an AI orchestrating its own breakout, right? But then it gets out. And that, to me, is like this massively interesting concept that doesn't really get played with. Like, they don't really pop up in the rest of the Sprawl trilogy. Yeah. And the implication is that they kind of leave. Like, they've kind of, I mean, I think at the end of the rest of this, they say they're communicating with other intelligences and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, they sort of make reference to it in Count Zero, I think, or one of the following. They offhandedly mention something about, well, yeah, what happened from that? And they're like, oh, the AIs got out and they all got together and they went somewhere or something like that. So yeah. So it's like, that is so fascinating to me. And that's the thing, is that there's so much going on in the realm of cyberpunk, and you just wish that someone had written a non-crime based novel. You know what I mean? Like, Snow Crash is great, but Snow Crash, to some degree, there's a lot of cool shit going on, but there's a big criminal activity going in the center of it. Well,
right?
You know what? Ghost in the Shell 2, Innocence, kind of did that, where it was non-crime, but it was the entity.
Well, it is a crime.
Well, no,
it is a crime because they're using that child and they're using her and they're
it is. But the reality
ghosts.
is the other end of it is, yes, the crime is part of it, but it's not all of it. The other end of it is that the Major's still watching out for Bateau.
Yeah. Well, yes.
But
well, that's the beautiful undertone of it all.
That's what I mean. Is that that this AI did not become Dr. Manhattan and beam out. It still cares.
I want a cyberpunk first contact novel where they think they're communicating with alien life, and it's just the AIs having come back. You know what I mean?
Well, that's kind of, isn't that's Star Trek the motion picture?
Oh yeah,
Remember?
You're right.
That
it wasn't really an AI. It was a satellite that got.
Yeah, but it became. Remember, it became
sentient, but it wasn't our AI. We didn't make an AI and then send it out. You know what I mean?
Depends. Wait a minute. Now, this could be an interesting discussion point because.
Go ahead.
This is when you have a child. That child is not sentient in the way that an adult is. It is alive and it can learn.
Yes.
Well, that's Voyager. Voyager was a simple construct sent out to gather information.
Okay. And
then it came back to report back to the parents and didn't get an answer.
But didn't it get hopped up by some alien life?
Well, it had contact, but that's...
I thought it had been upgraded, and that's why it was behaving so radically.
I thought that... Well, actually, let's see, because, of course, the movie doesn't make it entirely clear. So let's see what the wiki says happened, because I'm actually kind of curious. It's interesting. It's an interesting point. Let's see. Okay. Okay, let's get to the point where they actually... Okay, Voyager is revealed to be Voyager 6, a 20th century NASA space probe from the Voyager program. It was believed to be lost in a black hole. The damaged probe was found by an alien race of living machines that interpreted its programming as instructions to learn all that can be learned and return that information. The machines upgraded the probe to fulfill its mission, and on its journey, the probe gathered so much knowledge that it achieved sentience. That's us creating AI. We sent something out that then became
that's
evolved.
Us unintentionally creating
AI.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, all right. But honestly, to me, there's no difference. We put the building blocks of artificial life in place, knowingly or not. And it became what we always think artificial intelligence is supposed to be. And it came back and we encountered it. It was not changed into an organic entity. It still remained itself. They just gave it the ability to be able to gather all this stuff and come back because it would not have been able to on its own. Well, if you get sick and they have to cut off your hand and you got to get a new hand, that doesn't make you into something else. That means that you've been upgraded, or whatever. So I would argue that that is an example. Not the example you're talking about. I agree. But that actually makes that story... I never thought of it that way, but it kind of makes that story better now to me. I like that idea.
Well, you know what? Because you're talking about how a different point of view of something.
Oh my God! Here we go. Yeah, you have the floor. I'm going to sit down for a minute. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm going to let you talk this one because this is good.
All right. So recently, I said I was traveling, and I visited my favorite tattooist up in Vermont, and I was being heavily tattooed over a couple days. And my tattooist is a big nerd like me, and we watch a lot of movies while we were doing stuff. And so we watched Superman 2 and Superman 3, right? Now, we're watching Superman 2, and we've got commentary going back and forth because both of us, my tattooist and I, we both love Christopher Reeve, right? And we're both not a big fan of Man of Steel. And we both like, what's his name? Brandon Routh, because he tried to channel Christopher Reeve. But in the end, Superman Returns is a derivative movie in the same way that Ready Player One is a derivative book, right? They loved the original Christopher Reeve Superman. They wanted to try and channel it, but, you know, it's not quite right? Plus, Lex Luthor is still just going on about property. I never made that connection. But, like, in Superman 1, it's about property, and then in the Superman Returns, like, the new Lex Luthor, it's still all about property, right? It's funny. So we're sitting there and watching the movie, and Superman 2, you know, Zod and Zora, and I can never remember the big guy's name.
Oh yeah, what is the big guy's name?
What is the big guy's name?
Arn, not Orn. What is the big?
He's
guy's name?
He's just the big guy.
Yeah.
Just the big guy. So
Yeah.
anyway, the three Kryptonians show up, right? And they get to Earth and they start fucking shit up and all this stuff's going on. And one of the things I really always liked about the difference between Man of Steel and Superman, and it's something that Joe brought up when I mentioned that I was going to talk about something like this, was that Superman, the Zod realizes that Superman wants to protect the people, right? Because they start destroying the city and Superman is trying to save them. And they realize that is his weakness. And that is why Superman flees, because he's trying to draw them away from the populated area, right? Whereas in Man of Steel, I mean, they were just fucking plowing through the city at that point. And you never really get a sense from Man of Steel that Cavill's Superman is desperately trying to get Zod out of the city. Like, he is... I'm not saying that I don't think that Cavill's Superman cares about people. I think he does, but it's a different personality, right? But then there was kind of this weird moment for me, because we get to the end of the movie, and they're in the what's called the Tower of Solitude, the Fortress of Solitude, Superman's swanky ice palace, and Superman pulls that trick where he tells Lex Luthor, get him in that, you know, and get him in the pod thing, and Luthor double crosses him, which Superman knew he would. And Superman gets in the pod, and then they turn the machine on, and it renders the other Kryptonians in the room powerless, right? It turns them essentially into humans. Now, every time I've watched this movie, I have kind of glossed over this. And I don't know if it was because I was in a fascinating amount of pain at the time that I noticed this, but that if we're going by what is in a movie, and not by what may have happened afterwards or other explanations we can come up with, once Superman realizes that Zod is human, he then picks him up and throws him into an ice ravine, thus killing him, right? At which point, the big guy tries to fly, trips and falls into a ravine, also most likely to his death. And, what's her name? The reporter. Jesus, what's her name?
Lois Lane.
Lois Lane. Lois Lane then elbows Zora and knocks her off into another ice ravine, killing her. And Superman chuckles. Now, I don't... My wife is saying to me, this was a funny exercise in memory. Because, like, she was like, do you just not remember? And I'm like, you know what? I don't think I did. I think I watched it. And to me, these movies were so lighthearted to some extent. I mean, I think you were saying that in Superman 3... There's a thing where Superman starts to go crazy and he's shooting the peanuts at the window, and they kind of gloss over the fact that, you know, a mad Superman could really just destroy the world, which is kind of like The Boys, or you know,
Or what was it? Supreme? Or, no.
Yeah.
No, the Powers. That's
Power.
how
Yeah,
did
Powers
Ace,
had that.
Yeah, remember that
Yeah.
thing where Superman goes crazy and he's basically
Yeah,
got
there's
the
that-
tube with the woman naked up in the stars. He's like, hey, you want to fuck?
Yeah,
And she's
it's
like,
that
oh, this is
fear.
gonna be rape, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh God. Of
What
what
was.
happened, right?
Yeah.
And they gloss over it because then, you know, he fights himself in a junkyard, and the good one comes back, right? But they always approached heavy topics and then quickly went for the family direction, right? Because they wanted Superman to be family movies, and well, they should. I love the Superman movies, except for the Solar Man one, because that one's a bit crap. But the fact that Lois Lane kills Zora, and then he chuckles, and I'm like, wait a minute. I was like, he just murdered General Zod, and didn't bat an eyelash. Whereas I'm pissed off at Man of Steel because he breaks the General Zod's neck. And the thing is, right, I went back and watched that scene because now I was like, wait a minute, am I remembering stuff weird? And I went back and I watched that scene, and Henry Cavill, who I do like as Superman, I've realized this, and I think because I like the actor.
I've said the same thing. This is not Cavill's fault. He would have made an excellent Superman in a better film.
Yeah, he does communicate a sense of agony with the fact that he can't stop Zod. And it's like he doesn't want to kill him, right? But he can't stop him. So he finally does kill him. And I was like, weird. It's weird that there's more agony in that scene than Christopher Reeve killing Zod and then chuckling about Zora's death. And I was like, whoa. And I realized in that moment that I let Man of Steel off for that. Now, I'm not saying that Man of Steel is a good movie. There's a lot about that movie I disagree with, especially you cannot fix that whole Pa Kent thing because it's a completely different lesson where, like, Cavill's Pa Kent is like, don't let him know you're an alien. I'll die for that secret. You should have let those people die. Keep your secret to the grave. Whereas in the Christopher Reeve Superman, it's hey, you can't save everybody. Sometimes bad shit just happens. You're not a god, right? It's an important lesson for him to learn. So, I'm not saying that Man of Steel is off the hook and that suddenly I love it. I'm just saying that one of the things that really irked me about Man of Steel, I have now let go because I don't remember Christopher Reeve killing Zod quite that effortlessly and then laughing about the death of Zora. I mean, if you really think about it, Lois Lane and Superman just brutally killed 2 people and they were like, hey, it's time to hug and make up, right? And I do find that to be, it's not something I remembered. And even watching it as a kid, I don't think it ever occurred to me. Because I think in my mind, I was like, I always thought, well, surely, it's Superman's palace. So they've slid into, yeah?
I will interject now.
No, go ahead, yeah.
So you brought this up to me. So everybody has some background. You brought this up to me last night as we were playing Doom.
Yeah, I didn't mention specifically what in Superman 2 bothered me.
I had a hunch
that
this is exactly where you were going.
Yeah.
And this is the thing.
Well, you and I are on similar tracks.
We
anyway,
are, because I said I couldn't remember the second thing, and you immediately said, "Oh, that he kills Zod," and that told me right away where you were going to go with this. And here is the thing about Superman 2.
Yeah.
I saw Superman 2 more times on television than I ever saw it in the movies.
Oh, is it? Hold on, is it different?
It is. You see them alive. They don't die.
No.
That was yes. Donner's original ending showed an arresting scene of Lex Luthor, and in the background, all 3 Phantom Zone villains are alive. You can find it.
Hold on.
Yes.
I'm looking for it now because that's fascinating.
Yes,
to me,
they're arrested as well, which is hysterical.
That says something about Donner.
See, and this is the problem: is now they've left it that it's not there. And of course, Donner got fired off of Superman 2. They redid a bunch of stuff, so Superman 2 was in many ways a mess. But yes, you will find the original shot ending that was aired. Therefore, it's not supposedly.
Yeah, there's Snow Police. Okay.
Yeah. Look for them. They're there.
Hold on, I'm looking.
I mean, they don't make it, I would say, the most prominent thing in the world, but they are in fact.
Oh yeah, they're in the background.
There they are.
Holy shit!
And that's why I said you're never going to change my mind on this, because I knew.
Wow.
Yeah. So, had that scene only been in extras,
I've never heard of this scene.
As far as I know, it was only ever on television versions, because on television they often extended it, but it was Donner's footage. And my understanding is that was the original plan until he got fired and it was handed to somebody else. Oh yeah.
So, man, that brings up so many other questions, which is that, like, why remove that? Because why make him a murderer?
Well, because a different director took over because they got into a fight with Donner and they changed a lot of things. So Donner, in fact, put the and honestly, this is not really a better ending because a lot of people are like, wait a minute, why is Superman suddenly able to erase her memory with a kiss? Because that's not one of his powers. So what Donner did is they reuse, in his version, him flying around the planet and reversing things so she never finds out. Which isn't really better.
That's got some holes. Yeah.
It's got a lot of holes, but it's more consistent with his power set than erasing memory kisses, which he never had. So, yeah, it's... here it is. I was going to say IMDb. I was looking in the wrong... I was looking in... what do you call it? The accidents, but in fact, it's alternate connections. Here it is. ABC television version contains 17 minutes of footage that had been cut from the theatrical release. Much of it the remnants of Richard Donner scenes that he shot before Richard Lester became director. Right. The alternate ending, there it is. There's a number of other things, which I remembered, and this is the thing is, for a long time, I didn't realize there were different versions on television and stuff, so I thought that I was misremembering things. No, in fact, those scenes exist, and they were shown.
Yeah, no.
But,
this is like the thing with Dune, where like I'd see the TV versions and then be confused because they weren't in the movie.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did not realize they did this for Superman 2.
Because I remembered Superman 2, there's a part where he cooks something with his heat vision. And it's not in the theatrical version. And I was like, how am I thinking that he's cooking her food with his heat vision and it's not there? Because it was in the TV version. I'm
genuinely shocked, I'll tell you that.
Right?
Because because it is weird that the other director then turned Superman into a murderer. That is the version that I think most people will see.
Yes.
Whereas Richard Donner, who obviously had a better sense of the character,
well, that's clear,
just had them be arrested.
Yeah.
You know,
it's crazy. Yeah.
That's nuts. That's honestly, and like it really screws me up now because I'm kind of like, wow, like that's. Yeah.
So one possibility is you actually did see that version and just kind of repressed it or whatever, but
no,
your conscience is clean.
No, I have never. I'm so shocked by this sequence. I mean, it's not a very good sequence. I'll give you that.
No,
because somehow the ice police are there and
look.
Yeah,
the movie has.
You see
holes.
them in the background.
The movie has holes. I'm not going to tell you.
Oh
the movie
yeah.
Don't have holes.
Yeah, and honestly, the whole time travel solution for his identity that doesn't really work either.
But it's better than super kisses. I'll give him that.
Yeah, I mean. But you know what? Quick question: when did Doctor Who suddenly have the ability to wipe people's memory? Was that? Oh, I don't remember that in old Who. I feel like that's a new Who thing.
No, I don't. I mean, okay. To be clear,
I
have not watched the entirety of I guess 90s or 2000s.
I know, but like I don't remember there being anything like that until Tenet.
No, there's nothing that I'm aware of. I mean, mind erasure technology existed in old.
Oh, exists,
but
not the way he did it. Yeah,
not that I remember.
Grab your face and.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's.
Yeah. But that said, yes, I did not know that scene existed. So that is very fascinating to me now because we've got the original director who wanted Superman to remain murderless.
Yes. Then
we have the new director who was brought on who decided to not only make him a murderer, but make him like a cold murderer because it's not just that he immediately in that version kills Zod, right? It's that he kills Zod and when Lois Lane kills Zora, he goes, ha! Like he laughs about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you're like, whoa. And like, I don't know why my brain never saw that before, but for this time I saw that and I was like, wait a minute. That's kind of fucked up, you know.
But now it makes sense because if he knew that they were basically hitting an ice slide.
Yeah, they were sliding into something that he had and he knew we could go get them. And that's why he laughed. He laughed because he was like, we beat them.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So, but I agree. If you didn't, and this came up when
that's fucked up,
isn't it?
That
when Man of Steel came
out, why would they do that?
I remember people making this argument, and people who remembered the alternate version were like, "No, because it aired." Because there is a correct statement.
If you look up, I looked up Superman 2 Zod arrest. The scene pops right up on YouTube.
No, but in other words, if it had been in a deleted scene only.
Yeah.
Well, then it's a different argument because it was never shown. But the
fact
but
that version exists on network television,
and it makes sense now that he would laugh. Whereas you're right. Otherwise, he comes off like some kind of superpowered sociopath.
Yeah, and that is in that moment. There's and that thing is we went right into Superman 3 after that, where he does become a superpowered sociopath,
which is great.
So, right. Whereas in Man of Steel, when he does kill Zod, right. there is a genuine sense of anguish.
Oh no, there
and
is.
I was like,
there
yeah.
is. But you have to sit there and go, well, okay, then why not just break his back so that you could just stop him from doing it? Like, just wound him.
Here's a weird biological Kryptonian question.
Yeah.
If you break a Kryptonian's back, can't they still fly around?
Ooh. I don't actually know how their flight works.
Yeah, like it used to be that Superman was jumping.
You know what then? Superpowered Stooges move and just stab his eyes out. He'll still be alive.
Very
Just
true.
fucking do the goddamn curly and knock his eyes out.
Just carve him out.
No, just literally go the Stooges thing. Just
is that worse? Would that be worse if at the end of that movie he just popped Zod's eyes out?
Yeah, so they were just hanging there shooting downwards at his nuts.
And he's like,
I
can't see anything. And he's like shooting at his own feet with his eye blast because his eye sockets his eyeballs are hanging from his,
Yeah, because another thing I thought of is, okay, couldn't he have just covered his eyes and that would have stopped it long enough that he could have done something? He could have put his hand over his
Or do
eyes.
the eye beams hurt him as well?
Well, so what? He's Superman. He should be hurt before others.
Yeah, that's
so what?
true. Yeah.
You know? But
listen, I never liked the Zod death thing. Let's be very clear about that.
There's no defending it.
But when you see the sociopath version of Superman 2, it does make Man of Steel look less sociopath, that at least he struggled with it.
I also
Yeah.
genuinely wonder whether Zack Snyder wanted him to be agonized when he killed Zod. Because Zack Snyder is into the whole corrupted gods thing.
Oh, yeah, because I remember I remember reading a discussion about how Nolan disagreed, and Nolan felt Superman wouldn't do that.
No, but did Zack Snyder want him to be more angry as opposed to anguished?
I don't know. I don't know.
I really
do know
wonder.
that in the end, I know Nolan basically said, I'll let Snyder make the decision. It's his
Oh, no,
movie.
that part I knew. But
Yeah.
I wonder if Zack Snyder's original idea was, no, you should just be angry. And somebody's like, okay, if you do that, they're going to hate him as much as Zod. You have to make him seem like he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, you can't be like, I'm going to kill you, yeah! Like,
Fine,
you have to be
I'll make him
pained,
feel
yeah.
like it's bad, I guess. God, you guys don't understand how corrupted gods work, do you?
Yeah.
Of course, what do I know?
No, hey, listen, it's how the narrative feels to you, isn't it?
It is.
And
but
for
like
me,
I said, I do remember that one bit.
the Superman 2 sociopath chuckle is kind of chilling.
It is.
And then I realize, oh no, it's just because it's a shit director did a fucked up cut, and the scene is out there because the original director was like, guys, Superman's not a sociopath.
Right. Again, I will point out that when even just in the movie, it doesn't make sense because like they pick up a bus and his immediate terror is that
The
they're
people,
going to
yeah, he
hurt
says
the
the
people.
people, yeah.
Right. So this is not a character who would take joy in anyone's death.
No, and then he chuckles. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it was that, he would have killed Lex Luthor for inadvertently killing Lois Lane. Even though he reversed it, he'd be like, you killed her. You know, if he was that kind of guy, then Lex Luthor would have been torn in half and thrown into space.
He would have killed Lex Luthor a while ago.
No kidding.
Listen, he could kick, as you said, he could kick Lex Luthor into space and no one would ever find the body.
Right. So
if you really think about it, Superman can take a lot of people out before anyone
of
starts to
course.
really ask any questions.
He could do it so fast nobody would ever know.
Yeah, so could the Flash. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, of course. That's the problem with these characters if they go crazy. So.
Yeah, and that's why Batman built the super mech suit.
You
Which I
understand it.
still think is very silly, but it does make sense that the most paranoid person would stop and go, wait a minute, what if my superpowered friends went insane?
Well, he clearly watched Superman 3 and went, oh man, I don't want to see this guy in a bar. You know? No, it makes sense.
Oh man, yeah. So, I'm glad that you both confused me and cleared that up for me in a weird way.
Yeah.
Yes. In closing, the version that most people will see as Superman 2 is the sociopath edition, whereas you have to go to broadcast TV to find the non-sociopath edition.
Now, the odd thing is, actually, hold on a minute. I want to see, because I own... I'm trying to remember if Donner put that scene back into his director's cut of Superman 2. Let me see.
Yeah, we watched the... Was it the...
Yeah, you watched the theatrical one, I'm sure.
Yeah, the Prime dish. Yeah, the Prime version, yeah.
Let me see. Okay, moving... All right, here's the ending. Both movies. Okay. Oh, that's how they escape. Okay. Gives up his powers. Final showdown. Here it is. Okay. Magic Kiss is gone. I knew that part. Yep. Let me see here. Even Zod and his minions return. Oh, that's right. He puts them back into the Phantom Zone. That's right. You know what? I have to rewatch the Donner cut because yeah, he puts them back into the Phantom Zone. I don't remember how he did it though because I watched it a while ago. Yeah. So instead of showing that, they go back into the Phantom Zone somehow. That's right. I remember because they reused that mirror shot. Yeah. I mean, none of these versions are perfect, but it's still better than that.
Of course not.
It's still that they don't die. So, yeah.
Well, listen, it's not that they don't die. I don't have a problem with General Zod and his people dying. It's the fact that Superman doesn't kill them. Like,
actually, I do have a problem with it because that's not what that Superman. The Superman they were doing in those movies was the comic version who doesn't kill people. And I know that's some people say, why are you so hung up on that?
I know, but what I'm saying is if they had died by some other means, like, you know, if they tried to kill him and killed each other or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with them dying.
Way you can't
it's that he can't. It's that he can't kill them.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Is yes. So because he wasn't allowed to reshoot footage, he had to take what they already had. He did not complete the movie, so they never shot footage of them killing themselves. So that's the thing is, at least he still preserved the idea of them not dying because the only thing because you still have to have that ending confrontation. That all still has to be there for them to be captured again. So it's the important thing is he didn't still have them dying by, as you said, a sociopathic Superman going, "Ha ha, you sure killed her good." You know, yeah, that's gone. So, yeah.
Well, yeah, there you go.
Superman still sucks.
I would not have. I did not expect that to go that way.
Well, you wouldn't because they never, as far as I know, it was only ever shown on TV that way. It was never in the theaters, and even Donner didn't put it back into his cut. He did the Phantom Zone thing, which is why I couldn't remember.
The 3-hour TV version, that's what it is.
Most movies got that, like Dune, most of the extended footage is for the TV version, all that stuff. That's very, very common because the commercials are in there, and a lot of times they wanted to do it over a 2-part. So you had to kind of extend it to fill that. Ironically, you had to make the movie longer or it would be too short because of the commercials, which is strange, but that's how they did it a lot of times. It's weird. But
plus, you know what? I realize I'm a little on the fence about the dinner revenge scene in Superman 2.
The dinner revenge. Oh, at the diner. Diner revenge.
He goes back to the diner, yeah. There's just a little part of me that's like, I don't know if he would do that.
I think, don't get me wrong, I agree. That is the closest it comes to crossing into a little bit of a gray morality area. But the way he was kind of treating everybody, you have to assume that I always thought, okay, this is a guy that slaps women around. And that's just Superman's like, no. Superman's basically showing him that, hey, watch it. Because you never know when somebody might come back that you beat up and fuck you up to within an inch of your life. Which is not a bad lesson for bullies to have. Is be careful who the fuck you pick
I don't
on.
know if that's how he would have phrased it, but yes.
Oh no, he would have said, you know, what goes around comes around. See you later, citizen, and then fly off. You know. But you're right. It's borderline. That is the meanest Superman ever feels when he's not evil. You know, peanut flicking Superman.
Yeah. Man, I just can't believe that they would cut that.
Crazy, right?
Sequence out. Yeah, it just feels. It just shows you how easy one person's choices can completely change the vision of a character.
Oh yeah, that's why directors get really pissed off when their movies get taken away from them. I mean, Terry Gilliam, perfect example. Look what they did to his movie. Look what they did to Blade Runner. Right? So it happens a lot more. And these are the things we know about. Who's to say what happens that we never heard about? So.
Yeah, the stuff that never makes it.
Right. Yeah.
Well, there you go. Well, that's all I've got for you, sir.
Well, I have a delightful surprise in that this is a movie that, by all appearances, looked like just a run-of-the-mill, basic rip-off film where a foreign movie was taking American stuff and just trying to recombobulate it into a cash-in, and it's a lot better than that. Now, this is a Mexican slasher film called Hell's Trap, I'm not going to bother trying to do the Spanish version. You can probably do it better than me.
What year is it?
1989. Hell's Trap. Hell apostrophe S Trap. 1989.
Oh, Trampa Infernal.
There you go. See, you can do it. I can't.
Oh, you could. That's almost Italian. Come on.
It almost is, but I can't roll R's and stuff. So, now when you look at that cover,
okay, hold on.
what
Look
the?
at the cover.
Yeah, look at the cover.
Right.
What do you think this movie is ripping off?
I see the robot woman from Superman 3 is what I see.
All right, well,
there.
assume that it's a mask and not a
Oh,
robot.
it's like a weird robot with like razor hand things. And...
Okay, so seeing the hands, what would that remind you of for American horror films? Like, who's got a glove?
Oh,
with...
Freddy Krueger?
Right. And then the mask, well, we have American Slasher that has a mask, right? So that would be Friday the 13th. So looking at it and reading it, it sounds like, okay.
Is that supposed to be a mask?
Yes, it looks like somebody made a long shot mask in the movie. I swear, it looks like long shot.
Interesting.
Because it's blonde hair and this very stern, just like straightforward face. Or Halloween. I mean, it does have a Halloween thing, except with blonde hair. It is actually very effective in the movie. It's actually terrifying.
I'm looking at it right now. It always has this kind of black-eyed, serious of concentration. Yeah,
it's strange because on the poster looks silly, but then when you see it in motion, it looks good. The whole movie is way better than you would think reading that.
It's kind of the Michael Myers thing. It's like
sort of.
It's just a not George Lucas. It's Shatner mask.
Yeah, yes, very much like that.
But when you see it in movement, it's quite frightening.
Yes, it's great. I actually hoped that you would never have him take it off. Unfortunately, he does, and it's underwhelming. So I wish they just left it on the whole
he's
time.
got like a whole scarred up looking face.
Yeah,
thing,
I mean,
right?
you only see it for 1 second, but still, it would have been better if they just left it on. So, movie starts out, and we're immediately thrown into a guy walking around with a gun.
Does he have a Freddy Krueger glove?
He does, but it's not. It's a strange glove because it's actually far more functional looking and in use than you would think, because there's a part where he grabs a tree with it and the hooks go around the tree, so it's almost like a climbing glove because it's got these barbs.
Interesting.
And when he grabs the tree, they wrap around the tree, and I went, is that because they never really show him doing that, but I almost thought this is something to let him grapple, like to move up difficult surfaces. So I actually like it better, even though when he slashes throats with it, even there, though, it wraps around the throat. So it's almost like a better way to kill somebody because you just roll your hand around their throat and the barbs just tear their throat open. It's almost like it's a well-engineered murder weapon compared to, say, even Freddy Krueger's gloves, which are just stabbing knives. But, but when Freddy Krueger puts his gloves flat, the blades go straight out, like they don't curve. Whereas this thing curves, so it's made to kill people. And also, like a bear, climb things. It's the most fascinating, weird murder weapon I've ever seen. Because it does feel like this is based on something real, like maybe something that climbers or somebody uses. Because it looks so utilitarian in the movie. It's so bizarre. This movie surprised me in lots of ways. So movie starts out, right? And it's two guys. You see this guy with a gun, and you have no idea what's going on. There's no preamble to this. There's no setup. You're just thrown immediately into this guy walking around with a gun. And then you see a second guy with a gun, and it's almost like a Mexican Miami Vice episode where it's two guys at the end trying to kill each other. So the one guy gets the drop on the other, shoots him like 3 times, and then goes over to the body, and then you see when it looks down, it's paintballs. They're having a paintball competition. So it's basically setting up that these two guys, whose names are Nacho and Maurice, they are sort of quasi-friendly, but not really rivals, who are very competitive with each other. And this is just their latest thing where they bet on something, and then, whoever wins, wins, and whoever loses, loses. But this is something that's been going on for a while. You immediately get that, because then they get into a fist fight when, I don't remember why, but they start fighting each other, and you find out, okay, these are not buddies that are having these competitions. These are like two guys who constantly bet on each other and are sort of somewhat respectful of each other, but don't like each other. You know what I mean? They're those type of guys. So that establishes that right away. Then we cut to a bar, and in the bar, we're introduced to the main characters for the whole movie, which is 7 characters. Maurice and Javier are there. Well, they start out as friends, but you get the idea that Javier doesn't really like Maurice either, that he's just hanging around him because he's talented or something. And then their 2 girlfriends whose names I don't even know if they get names, but they're the 4 that are on the. I don't know if they do. But you see something.
Girlfriend number 1.
Yeah, well, I mean, they have personalities, but I don't remember them ever calling them by their names. I don't remember, to be honest. So they're on the what we would call the one rival side is those 4, and on the other are Nacho, his best friend Charlie, who's a rather portly fellow but nice enough, and then his girlfriend Alejandra, who is easily my favorite fucking character in this movie. Alejandra is amazing. She is a take no bullshit. Like, she punches more people in this movie than anybody else. She punches men. She punches women if they even slightly insult her. Yes.
I just showed my kids Gremlin for the first time.
Yeah.
And I always forget that Billy's mom kills most of the
like
gremlins.
5 of them. Yeah, in the kitchen.
And then
in the house.
and it's the fact that Billy can't catch Stripe that what causes the rest of the movie to happen.
That's right.
But Billy's mom, like, she fucking puts one in the blender, she puts one in the she stabs one to death, she puts the other one in the microwave. I mean, she fucking normally that is a role that is a victim.
Yes, and that's the same thing in here. Is Alejandra in a lesser film would have been either like the second to last person killed or a rape victim, which I kept dreading that the rape thing was going to happen. It never does. I was so happy that she never got raped, which is it's fucking amazing. I have to say that, but movies like this, it's a common thing.
It is a horror movie. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: no nudity, which is amazing for '89, and no rape. Or really any victimization outside of the 2 other women get killed, but there's nothing perverse to it. It's very, very clinical.
It's just straight all-American murder.
Well, yeah, because the guy is just completely off his rocker, and he thinks he's still like in Vietnam. That's what it is. He thinks he's in a war all the time. So that's jumping ahead a bit. But so we're in this bar, and Alejandra's like,
is the murderer American?
Well, his name's Jesse. I think they do say he's American. Well, I think there's a clip. Well, in the clip, we'll find out. I don't remember if they specify or not, but they say he was a guy who never got over the war that he was in. But anyway, so we're at the beginning here. We're in the bar, and Alejandra's like, you know what? I think this should be the last bet you have with Maurice. Just be done with it. And Nacho's like, yeah, I'm getting sick of it. It's just there's never going to be an end to this, and I don't feel like doing this anymore. And so Alejandra's happy because she thinks that that's going to be it. But of course, Maurice has the idea that there's going to be one more bet. So this is Maurice's, this Javier starts out this, but then we're going to have Maurice come into it where he's going to explain the one final bet, the big last bet. So this is in the bar. It's going to start with Javier basically being like, hey, Nacho, listen, Javier, Maurice wants to talk to you. There's just one more thing. So let me play this.
Lo que hiciste hoy fue muy bueno, Nacho. Ni hablar. Fuiste mejor que Mauricio. Y él ya lo aceptó. Solo que esta vez tenemos una nueva proposición que hacerte.
Déjate de babosadas. ¿Qué es lo que traen?
Que te lo diga Mauricio. Solo que esta vez no es un jueguito. Nacho, ¿no quieres ver esto?
Ay, Mauricio. ¿Qué te traes ahora?
En vista de que te gusta mucho competir, se me ha ocurrido algo más interesante. Algo que te puede llamar la atención.
Masacre. 3 cazadores muertos y 2 desaparecidos en filo de caballo. Aseguran que se trata de un oso. ¿Y esto qué?
They think
Ay,
it's a
Mauricio,
bear.
ya. Deja de estar perdiendo el tiempo. Estos jamás te van a aceptar la apuesta, hombre. ¿De qué se trata?
Mira, Alejandra, se trata de esto. El que llegue a matar al oso será el ganador.
No le sigas el juego, Nacho. Todo esto es una estupidez.
Oye, ¿de cuándo acá tú decides por él, Alejandra? ¿Que no tiene pantalones?
¿Qué te propones? ¿Cuál es la apuesta?
En esta ocasión no va a haber apuesta. Se trata de demostrarle al pueblo quién es el mejor. Además, me debes la revancha.
Éntrale, Nacho. Tú bien sabes que no nos van a ganar.
Escucha bien lo que te voy a decir, Mauricio. Te voy a dar la revancha. Pero esta será la última vez que apueste contigo. ¿Me entendiste? El periódico habla de que el oso se encuentra en Filo de Caballo. Y ese lugar está como a 5 horas de aquí. Así es de que Charlie y yo les aconsejamos que se vayan a dormir temprano, ¿eh?
Mira, no tienes por qué preocuparte en nosotros. No es la primera vez que vamos de cacería.
Toma esto. Te lo dejo para que lo leas.
Claro. No te preocupes. Los vamos a dejar en ridículo. Ya verás.
So as you said, the idea here is, and I'm living in Spanish, I don't care. You want to go? Yeah, you can explain it. I'll let you do it. That's exactly why I didn't tell you. I didn't tell Lando this, everybody. I just left it.
So basically what it is that his girlfriend doesn't want him to get any more of these bets because he thinks it's a waste of time. And the friend basically really wants a chance at showing that he's the big man in town, that he's and there are reports of several hunters having died pursuing this bear. That's what they think it is because of the way they've died, it sounds like. And so the girlfriend tries to get in the way, and the other guy's girlfriend is like, she basically says, you know,
who wears the pants in this relationship?
He doesn't have the pants, essentially. And then he finally is like, fine. He's like, you know, I'll do it. He's like, but this is the last bet, right? But the thing is, are they supposed to be friends? Because they don't sound like friends.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think they're supposed to be more of just kind of macho rivals than anything.
Okay. Yeah,
So
because
they
don't sound friendly. They obviously know each other, but they don't sound like friends.
Well, see, and this is where, because it's in Spanish, I'm seeing the translation, but obviously there's things I'm missing that you're going to pick up because you speak this language more naturally than certainly I do. So there may be like, I never got the idea, and that's what I was saying at the beginning. I don't think they're friendly, but they have a history of doing these bets.
He keeps taking these bets, and his girlfriend is giving him shit because she's like, "Why are you wasting your time?"
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, the end of it is.
Yeah, but the catch here is that they think it's a bear.
Right. So there's a newspaper clipping that says, "Oh, there's been a slaughter," and and that this place that they're going to go to, and he's like, "All right, this is the last bet. We're going to go up here, and we'll see who can kill the bear." And as you said, there's a similar plot device, not exactly the same, in Friday the 13th, where when they get to this place, Fido del Caballo, I'm probably destroying that, but
Filo de Caballo?
Yes, that place. When they get there, they find an old man in this rundown van who's selling like weapons and different little trinkets, and he says, "Oh, where are you kids off to?" And they're like, "Oh, we're going to this place to hunt this bear." And he's like, "Whoa." He's like, "Don't go up there." He's like, "That's not a bear. These people are crazy. That's not a bear." And Nacho starts to say to him, "Well, what do you mean it's not a bear?" And Maurice cuts him off and says, "Don't listen to this guy. He's nuts. Come on. We'll get up there. We have everything we need. Let's just go." And there's a similar type of thing in Friday the 13th when these kids come into town. They're like, "Oh, we're going up to Camp Crystal Lake, which used to be called Camp Blood."
Don't go to Camp Crystal Lake.
And there's an old man who's like, "What are you kidding? You don't know what's up there. There's somebody evil up there." It's the same type of thing. So there are definitely similarities in these movies. But like I said, they're heading up there. They're in separate cars. And the thing is, the thing I liked most about this movie that immediately they did really well was they establish Nacho, Alejandra, and Charlie as people you really like. Like, they all have these really good personalities. They act like they come across as very natural, realistic friends. Alejandra's awesome because even in that scene where the girl says, "What, he doesn't wear pants?" she gets up and she gets ready to punch her. And Nacho's like, no, let's not start a fight. But Alejandra takes no shit. Like I said, she belts everybody in this movie virtually. Like, and not subtly slaps them, closed fist across the face, knocking people down when they even slightly say anything insulting or that she doesn't like. In fact, you're going to hear in a clip where she's going to like, hey, if you know what's good for you, ask them what happens when I get pissed off, and you'll be happier and better off, which that clip's coming. I fucking love her. And that's why I was like, oh, God, please don't let her become a sex victim in this thing, because I just wanted to get out.
Did you watch this? Did you watch with subtitles?
Yeah, I watched with subtitles, yeah.
Okay.
I would have understood. Well, I probably would have understood enough.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Now,
I have the subtitles. You want them?
No, it's not that. I know it's being said.
Yeah.
But a large portion of our listeners will not. So, I'm just curious why you're playing the dialogue if you yourself do not know. Well,
because I kind of like the idea that, you know what, run it through a translator or, watch the movie. Because, I don't know, because I like the idea of hearing... Okay, if the movie wasn't good, I wouldn't care and I wouldn't even bother. Yeah. But I feel like these people deserve to be heard in their original performances because I like them.
By all means. Hey, I don't have a problem with it. I know what's going on.
Yeah. Well, I have those clips. I can if people want them, I can send it to them. But you can put it. There's so many translators now that you can literally hold your phone up to it. It's going to tell you. Plus, I don't know that the translation is exactly right because I don't know who did it. Maybe it is literally right because the part where the one girl says that the actual subtitle says, "Doesn't he wear pants?" Is that what she actually said? Doesn't he wear pants?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. He doesn't have the pants to do it. Essentially.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
See, and that's another reason.
That's the thing is you're hearing. If you get a technical translation of it, it won't make any sense, right? But essentially, that line that she's saying, she is literally saying, well, he doesn't have the pants, right? And it's kind of like, he doesn't have the balls. He doesn't make his own decisions.
Well, and I mean, you'll figure that out. But basically, the literal translation is what he doesn't wear pants, and that's all it says. So I know what that. I mean, most people are going to know what that means.
Yeah.
So, but no, I just kind of like the idea of hearing it. I know that.
No, by all means. I was just curious. That's all.
Yeah, just because, like I said, I actually kind of respect this movie more than I do a lot of other movies of this type because I really like the three main characters in particular, and so I'd like to hear them in their original thing, even though, sorry, if you don't speak Spanish, you're going to have to look up what it means. But
and honestly,
just explain
the music sounds vaguely John Carpenter-ish.
Yeah, the soundtrack is interesting. It's good. It doesn't always fit what's on the screen, but I like it. It just at times is kind of like, oh, this is a little more jaunty than a murder scene should be, but that's okay. Kind of, yeah, sort of. Or the what do you call it? The Wii Shop music that we listen to. Yeah. So they get up to the mountains or wherever the area where the murders have. They are going to camp out on the beach, and so they're going to start to go off into the woods and hunt. So everybody except for the two girlfriends, Javier and Maurice's girlfriend, stay behind on the beach to basically sunbathe. Now, and that's where I was like, okay, this is going to be nude sunbathing, but it isn't. They just wear swimsuits. So again, that was the first surprise. I'm like, oh, no blatant nudity for an 89 slasher? Okay. So then we see the killer. They don't really hide him.
They're like, what kind of trashy movie do you think you're watching?
No, this movie continually impressed me as it went along. I mean, it really did. But I was already in about 15 minutes in once I saw Nacho, Alejandro, and Charlie interacting, and I really liked them and wanted them all to live, which is also something I don't normally have with these type of movies. Like, I don't care, kill them all. I want to see how you explode them. Fine, go for it. But like, no, I wanted them all to live. And so the other ones I didn't want to die necessarily, but they were definitely the more classic kind of, Maurice comes off as an egomaniacal asshole, and that's what he is. Very dismissive of women, of everybody else. He's the top guy, like you said, he's the big man who's going to hunt down the bear. Like, you don't really, he's going to die and you don't care. So they're up in the woods, they're looking around. The killer is immediately revealed maybe 20 minutes into the movie. They don't waste any time. He comes out of this cave with like a covering on it. He's wearing that mask, which is creepy, and he's got the glove on, and he's wearing what look like army fatigues or something like that. It's like almost like an outfit or a uniform. And he starts going around. He's just kind of observing them at first. But he's got a bow and arrow. He sees the girls. And so he's kind of going up to them and he's stalking them. And then Javier shoots at a rabbit for some reason, which Maurice gets very upset about, inexplicably. And that kind of scares off the killer for a minute. And then you see that he's about to kill one of the girls who's going after, I think, a frisbee that goes into the lake. And just as he's about to either jump her or kill her or whatever he's going to do, they start calling to her because Javier has fallen into a trap and injured his foot. And right about the same time that Javier falls in the trap, Nacho, Charlie, and Alejandro are up in the woods, and they come across a human body, and they're like, oh shit, this isn't a bear, because they see an arrow is in the rib cage. So this is not a bear. Bears do not shoot arrows. So they immediately know that something is wrong. And so they run back, and by the time they get back to the camp, it is now nightfall. And so the scene that we're going to have here is Nacho is bandaging up. I don't think they ever explained that Nacho has any medical training, but for some reason he knows how to bandage a sprained ankle. So this starts off where he is bandaging Javier's ankle. And Javier, right here, starts to become a little bit more of, oh, you know what? Maybe Nacho is the better of the two people I've aligned myself with here, because Maurice doesn't seem to care all that much that he's hurt, and Nacho immediately bandages his foot and takes care of him. So this is the scene where Nacho he's suspected all along that Maurice knows more than he's saying about what's going on in the woods, and this is where he's going to confront them, because now he knows that what's in the woods is not a bear, and he thinks that Mauricio, I should say Mauricio, not Maurice, because Maurice is the Americanized version, so Mauricio clearly has more knowledge than he thinks, and this is where he's going to confront him about it. I'll have you describe it afterwards.
No te preocupes, no fue nada. Mañana estarás bien.
Gracias, Nacho. Te debo una.
Oye, Javier, qué bueno que vinieron estos, ¿no? Al menos sirvieron de algo.
Voy con Mauricio. Tiene algo que decirme.
¿Quieres que te dé un consejo? ¿Por qué no vas y le dices a Charlie que te diga cómo me pongo cuando me enojo? Te podría ser muy útil.
Oye, pienso que fue un error haber traído a las mujeres. ¿Por qué no se van de aquí? Solo estorban, ¿no crees?
¿Ya vas a empezar? Muy gracioso. Creo que yo no tengo nada que hacer aquí.
Pero en fin, yo vine a lo mío y ustedes pueden hacer lo que quieran.
Mira, yo no soy nadie para decidir por tus amigos, pero pienso que lo mejor sería pasar la noche aquí. Ya te dije lo que vi, Mauricio, y será mejor que me digas lo que tú sabes de este lugar.
Son tonterías, cuentos de ese viejo, hombre.
Bueno, pues cuentos o no cuentos, en el bosque hay un cuerpo totalmente mutilado. Y en la trampa que cayó Javier, ¿qué? Aquí hay alguien más aparte de nosotros. ¿Quién es?
Pues es un tal Jesse. Bueno, según Jeremías, el Jesse este era un soldado americano que después de la guerra se vino a vivir aquí con unos amigos. Por cierto, el camión de Jeremías era de ellos. Supuestamente el Jesse este se volvió loco. Piensa que todavía está en la guerra. Además, cree que cualquier persona es su enemigo.
Bueno, ¿y tú estás loco o qué? ¿Por qué te callaste todo esto?
¿Por qué no nos lo dijiste antes?
Porque yo no creo en esas cosas.
¿Escucharon eso? Hace ratito lo escuché, pero del otro lado.
Debe ser un conejo o cualquier cosa.
So number one, they do say he's American. I did hear that a couple of times.
Jesse's an American who came here with friends. That's the weird thing. He came here with friends and then stayed and went crazy. And he thinks he's still in a war and that everybody's an enemy. But Maurice doesn't believe any of that. He thinks it's all stupid stories. So he wants to think it's a bear? Like, is that that it's not a crazy person out there?
That is basically how he comes off until basically the end where it's undeniable.
And he's trying to get rid of the girlfriends.
Well, yeah. So what he basically says is, well, women are useless, which makes sense. Somebody like
Where
this.
He says, maybe we shouldn't have brought the women.
Right. Yeah. Because, you know, I think that's supposed to be just kind of the machismo angle of his character, is that he does not see women as... Because there's a point where one of the girls is somewhat, before they go off into the woods the first time, she's kind of like in the swimsuit, and she's like, hey, Maurice, look, I'm wearing a swimsuit. And he's like, yeah, I'm here for business. I don't have time for that shit. And then he leaves. So it's kind of one of those things where I think women are sex objects and he's not here for sex, he's here for business, that type of idea.
Not in the mood. Yeah.
Right, yeah, no, I'm here to do serious work, and I'll have sex with you when I'm good and ready. Thank you very much. So right after Charlie says, now I'm assuming the translation said he thinks it's Maurice is like, I think you're just hearing a rabbit. Yeah.
It's a rabbit,
right,
yeah.
Well,
it's probably just
right
a rabbit.
after he says that, an arrow lands 2 feet from them, and they're like, uh-oh, which you would think would immediately cure Maurice of his delusion that it's a bear, but it still takes a little bit more than that. So there's an arrow that lands, and Nacho's like, shit, put out all the lamps, because whoever's out there can see us. That's not a fucking bear. And so they all scatter, and they're hiding, and they notice that one of the women is missing. And she's off in the woods, and it's not really clear why she's out there. I never understood why she would wander off when this is going on. But the guy catches up with her, Jesse catches up, and slashes her throat, and then Nacho shows up and sees him right after he's killed her, goes, checks to make sure that, she's not alive, realizes she's not, and goes back to the camp and says, yeah, okay, it's not a bear. I just saw the guy, and he killed, I don't remember what her name was. Whatever her name is, he's like, so they do say her name, but whatever, I don't remember what it is. So let's just say girl number 1. Girl number 1 is dead. The brunette is dead. The blonde is alive, the brunette is dead, and Alejandra's fine. So he's like, all right, we have to get out of here. This is not a bear. There's some guy. He's already murdered one of us. We got to stay together. Each of us will take a watch overnight, and then we have to take the boats, go back up to where the vans are, and we have to get the fuck out of here. And Maurice is like, okay, fine, because, somebody's dead now, so he's actually more worried about, like, the cops or something. So they take the boats, and, of course, Jesse is watching them as they're going back with the boats, and they get to a point, and Nacho stops his car and signals to Maurice and says, wait a minute, we'd better scout around and make sure that there's nothing going on, because there was already the one trap that Javier fell into. We better make sure he hasn't sabotaged the road or something like that. And Maurice is like, yeah, okay, that's probably a good idea. And then the blonde girl says something to Alejandro, some smart-ass thing. And so Alejandro belts her and knocks her ass down. So she's like, I'm not going with you. I'm going to stay here, which, of course, we as the audience know what's going to happen now. So everybody else leaves, and the blonde girl number 2, I think it's supposed to be Javier's girlfriend. So Maurice has no, by the way, reaction whatsoever to his sex object being killed, which tells you even further how little regard he has for it. So Javier's blonde girlfriend stays, and the rest of them go off into the woods because they think they saw Jesse running and they want to chase him. But of course what he's done is double back, and he finds the blonde girl and kills her and then throws her body onto the hood of the car. And they hear her screaming. They come back, of course, Jesse is long gone. And so now now even Maurice is like, okay, something has gone wrong here. And there's a point where Javier clearly cares more about girl number 2 than Maurice did about girl number 1, because he's actually very upset. And Maurice comes up to him and says, look, we can get out of here. They were just women. Who cares? We weren't really serious. Yeah, oh yeah. No, Maurice becomes more of a fucking maniac as the movie goes on. And he says, whatever, man. They were just fuck toys anyway. We just got to get out of here. And so what? We didn't do it, and it's not our fault. And Javier's like, you are fucking crazy. And is about to fight him when Maurice slips and goes down this long dirt slide and hurts his ankle at the bottom of a ravine. So they're trying to find him, at which point Alejandra yells and screams, and Nacho goes and looks for her, and she's fallen into a different trap. And this is a trap remember in Predator where he wants them to come down into the ravine, there's all the spikes that are going to come down?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's one of those where she didn't trip that part, she fell into the hole but managed not to trip the spikes. And Nacho sees them and he's like, don't move, because there's something above you, and if you trip that, we're going to get killed. He's like, I'm going to come down and help you. And he goes down to help her, at which point he accidentally triggers the trap, but he flattens them both against the ground, and the spikes stop just short of them. So they're alive. But then Jesse shows up with a bow and arrow, and he's getting ready to shoot them. I don't know which one. And Charlie comes up and sees him and raises his rifle, shoots, and blows Jesse's entire left hand off. And I'm not kidding you. I was like, holy shit. He blows his fucking hand off. Not wounds him. It explodes, and there's a stump. So, of course, the bow and arrow drops. Not the claw hand, but his left hand, his bow holding hand. And so Jesse yells, and he runs off because now he's got a bloody stump, and he's bleeding all over the place. And Charlie runs up to him and says, I'll get you out. And he gets him out, and he says, how did you stop him? And he says, and Charlie, in this I'm telling you, I fucking love these main characters. Charlie, in this delightful way, goes, I blew his hand off. And Nacho's like, what do you mean? He's like, I blew his hand off. I shot his hand and it fucking blew up. Like, describes what he did. Because Nacho and Alejandro, they were face down. They couldn't see what was happening. So they just know he drove him off, but they didn't see what happened. And he's like, yeah, man, I blew his hand off. Which is probably what I would say if I managed to do that. Because Charlie wasn't right there. It was a good shot. Like, Charlie has some marksmanship. So he drove him off. I'm telling you, man, I was so delighted at this point in the movie. Because, number one, I did not expect them to... I did not think halfway through the movie the killer would lose his hand. Like, that's a big deal for a normal human character who's using a bow and arrow to not have a hand anymore. Because now, and through the rest of the movie, he can't use the bow and arrow anymore. So he never uses it again. Basically, he leaves it there, and he's lost that weapon. So they actually do manage to change what the character is able to do, which I'm like, this is fucking great, man. I'm having a riot with this thing. So then after they get everybody out, they find Maurice, they get everybody back together. We get this very brief scene that's very Rambo-like. You remember Rambo when he gets shot? I think it's in the second movie, and then he has to do the thing where he puts the flame to it and it shoots through him to cauterize the wound. All right, we get a version of that with the stump, where, you know, the bad guy cauterizes his stump and yells, and they hear the yell, very Predator-like moment.
The Predator does it too in like both
Exactly,
movies.
Yes. So same thing. So at this point, Maurice is like, yeah, we have to get out of here. Like, now he knows that, you know, they have to leave. So at this point, he has given up any pretense of a bear. So he says, okay, let's go and find Jeremias, or I don't know how you're supposed to say, Jeremiah would be the name in English. He's like, let's go find him and see if he knows, because Jeremiah had an Uzi. He's like, hey, you want one of these? You might need it where you're going. They were like, no, we're not going to do that. We have rifles. He's like, no, maybe we do need more heavy artillery. Let's go find him and let's get his shit and let's kill this guy. So they're like, okay, fine. So they know where his truck is. They head back. They find the road. They find his truck. And they go inside. And, of course, he's dead. So the killer has gotten to him. And if you remember in the clip, Maurice said, well, actually, Jeremiah's truck was Jesse's truck. So now he's dead. And at this point, Maurice starts to have like a breakdown. Like, he's like, oh, fuck, man, what fuck? And Nacho's like, all right, man, get it together. Let's just make a plan. Let's get the weapons. Let's get the ammo. And let's basically secure our position here. We'll go outside. There's a truck here. We'll take it and we'll just go to the scene. We'll call the cops. And Maurice is like, all right, fine. And so Maurice and Javier go out to get the truck, at which point Jesse's there with a fucking M16 and guns them both down and starts firing indiscriminately into the camper or whatever, Jeremiah's truck, which again, there was no build up to that. They walk out and he's just there with the stump and he's resting the machine gun as a steadying device on his stump, firing, and he puts like 80 holes into Maurice, who gives a shit, but also Javier, who really I was starting to like. So I was like, oh shit, man, Javier wasn't such a bad guy. They just get fucking cut down. They are dead. And so the rest of them are in the van, and they basically hit the floor, and they manage to avoid getting shot. So Jesse then throws a gas grenade into the truck, which knocks them all out, and he takes Alejandra and leaves with her. And I was like, oh fuck, man. This is the point where I thought, oh man, I know where this is going. And now this is a pretty short movie. It's only it's not even an hour and a half. I think it's 80 minutes long or so. So we're now at the hour mark. And I'm like, okay, we're getting down to it. So at this point, Alejandra's gone. Jesse's gone. And logically, you're sitting there going, well, why didn't he kill them? And that's not something that doesn't occur to the two of them when they wake up. So here is the two of them waking up and trying to figure out, because now it's basically just the two of them versus Jesse, who has Alejandra. And so they're trying to figure out, okay, what are we going to do? And this is them discussing what their plan is to try to get Alejandra back and stop Jesse.
Well, do they even know where
No, to answer your question, they don't know where he is. So they just woke up, and all they know is that he's gone, and so is Alejandra. So there you go.
Got it.
¿Qué estás haciendo? ¿Qué lo ves? Necesito armas y balas. Tranquilízate. Escúchame. Cálmate, Nacho. ¿Qué pasa? El tipo este se llevó a Alejandra. El tipo este quiere jugar con nosotros. Y no creo que esta sea la forma de hacerle juego. Bueno, ¿y qué sugieres? Que vayamos al pueblo por ayuda. No digas estupideces, me estás haciendo perder el tiempo. Mira, el tipo este no le va a hacer nada a Alejandra. Lo que quiere es que tú vayas tras él. Si no fuera así, ya nos hubiera matado cuando estuvo aquí. Bien, mi Charlie, muy bien. ¿Y cómo piensas llegar al pueblo? Afuera hay un coche. No sé qué está haciendo ahí, pero vámonos en él.
Ya estuvo, mi Charlie. Lo que dices no está tan mal. Pero ¿sabes qué? Sería mejor que tú te fueras solo.
¿Pero cómo voy yo solo?
Sí, Charlie, entiéndeme. Así yo me puedo adelantar. Si
Oh,
localizo
no.
a ese tipo,
Is there
prendo
going to be
una
a
fogata y
trap
así
on
es
the,
más fácil
on
que
the other
ustedes
vehicle?
den con el lugar. ¿Me entiendes?
Yes, there is.
Claro. Claro, tienes razón.
Pues cada quien a lo suyo, mi Charlie. Se nos está acabando el tiempo.
Cuídate.
Tú también.
Right. So you've already figured it out. When he goes out and gets in the truck, Nacho then looks at the truck and it starts to occur to him. He doesn't say this, but you sit there and go, well, why didn't he do something to the truck? And as soon as Charlie turns the key, the truck blows up and Charlie dies, which really fucking bummed me out because I really liked I liked these three main characters. This is what I mean is I was bummed out when he fucking died because he had Nacho and Alejandro's back the whole movie. Like, he was rock solid. He was always trying to help them. He was always there. He was reliable. Like, the two of them had this great back and forth. This is what I mean about I didn't want to... I'm glad there wasn't a dub because it would have ruined it. I just feel like hearing it is better, even if I don't understand it. I just like preserving the interaction because I think they did a great job. I don't know how it sounds to you, but it sounds good to me, as not understanding. But essentially, yeah, they have this idea that he tells Charlie, go ahead, you find the cops, and I will start a fire so that you can find where Jesse is when I find him. And then when Charlie goes out to the truck explodes. And now it's just Nacho, and he has to go after Jesse by himself. So he goes into the woods, and he hears Alejandra screaming. And again, there's a point where you see the killer with the mask off, but it's from behind, and he's washing his face, and he puts it on. And then I was like, okay, good. That's as much as they're ever going to show. We're never going to see his face, but you actually do see it. So he finds Alejandra. She's tied up, but as far as we never see anything that indicates anything actually happened, he's just using her as bait. So before he gets to her, Jesse finds him, and they're shooting at each other, and Nacho gets hit in the shoulder, but it's basically just like a very, very light wound. And he manages to, I think he hits Jesse in the shoulder. And so he goes to find Alejandra, and what he's done is Jesse has very, again, Predator-like. You know how the giant log is how he gets him?
Yeah.
So he's got one of those giant logs over Alejandra, and he's waiting for Jesse to get there. He's waiting for Nacho to get there so he can shoot the rope and then have her die in front of him. And I'm like, fuck, man. Please do not let this guy... Because Charlie's dead. So once they kill Charlie, I'm like...
Why is he so mean, though, about it in that respect?
Well, because he thinks it's war, man. They're all enemies, right? So he's just a lunatic. I mean, he never speaks. He never says anything in the whole movie. He just grunts and just runs around, which I like. They never try to give him a monologue, or he's not sitting there alone in a cave like, oh, I know you're coming for me, man. I'm going to get you first. Like almost like a Max scene, like, oh, I'm going to bleed him real good. Like, I'm just glad they didn't even bother. Just make him a maniac then. It's more scary to have somebody who has a mask on the whole time and says nothing, isn't trying to reason with you, just is killing people. That's better for a movie like this, because I don't feel like any voice that he would have had would have worked. It's just better to have him as this faceless machine. I like it. It's fine with me. So Nacho finds Alejandra, and he starts trying to cut her down, and Jesse starts shooting at the rope. And I genuinely, at this point, did not know if she was going to die. I really didn't, because once they blew up Charlie, everybody else is dead. Like, movies that aren't American have endings like that. I've seen movies where they kill the woman right in front of the guy. And so I didn't know where the fuck this was going to end up. So I was actually pretty tense because I liked Alejandra the whole movie. And so he manages to untie her right before Jesse hits the last shot and the thing comes down, but they escape. They run through his tunnel. Now he starts shooting at them, and Nacho manages to hit him, I think, in the stomach or something. He wounds him enough that he slows him down. So they're running ahead. They get through his little, like, secret tunnel. And now at this point at the end, he's got, like, blood on the mask, which actually makes it look even scarier. And he's bleeding all over. But now it's like, okay, well, I'm going to get you one way or another. So he's hunting them. So they get back to the van. And Nacho's trying to figure out what to do. And Alejandra says, wait. And she sees a propane tank. And she opens it up. And she's like, all right, we'll get him to come in here. We come out, shoot the propane tank. So it's Jaws. And so Nacho's like, works for me. So I mean, that's what it is, except he doesn't put it in his mouth. So they open this back door. They sneak out. Jesse opens the door. He's all fucked up, too. He's like bloody and everything. And he comes in and he's looking around. And he sees the propane tank and realizes that they've trapped him. And that's when he turns around, takes the mask off, which I don't like. Just kind of looks at the camera. And then Nacho shoots the tank and blows it up and just incinerates him. And then basically he and Alejandra walk off and they're going to get help. And it ends on a freeze frame. And that's the end of the movie. So relatively straightforward. But I fucking loved this movie. I had a blast with it. I liked Nacho, Charlie, and Alejandra made the whole movie. It wasn't bad outside of them, but the fact that I liked them so much and was really bummed out when Charlie died, to me is what means the movie's good. Because most of these movies are pretty, I mean, you know, they're good, they're fun, but I looked at buying this one, and I probably will, but I wish there was more background stuff on it. I would like to know more about how this movie was made. And the only release I've found of it that's new doesn't have really any extras, which is a bummer, because I would really like to know more about this movie, because it feels like it's made with more genuine effort than
have you
would think.
To see anything else the director's done, or, you know, is there any other progression?
I didn't. Well, I mean, I don't know if he's done anything else. I was looking for more information specifically about this movie.
But sometimes when you find information about other things they've worked on, there's conversation about what they have done.
Yeah, so the director has done things, not a ton. They're almost all Spanish movies, so I don't know whether these are well regarded or not. He worked through the 90s, and I don't know if he died or what. Doesn't say he's dead, so I guess he just stopped making movies, at least directing. He didn't do a ton, and there's not too much information about him. He did a bunch of horror movies, I know that, but, you know, I haven't found... The person who there's the most on is the woman who played Alejandra, did a shit ton of different stuff. And I think the guy who played Nacho also did a fair amount of different things. But
apparently
they're all
quite
Spanish. Good. Yeah, so, well, like I said, I like everybody in this movie as far as I can tell. Not speaking the native language, I don't know if their acting is in fact terrible. It doesn't sound terrible. It sounds good to me, but I am not a native Spanish speaker. So,
well,
the main actress
they're definitely speaking Spanish. And when they're angry and they're upset, they sound like my mom when she's yelling at me. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. and the woman who played Alejandra did 80 different things. She's got 80 credited roles. So, clearly she wasn't a shitty actress, as far as I can tell. And it shows, because I would say that she is probably the best person in the movie, by far. And I like the guy who played Nacho as well, but she was my favorite character. Honestly, if she'd been the only one who made it out, I would have been fine. I mean, I like Nacho, but if it was between Nacho and her, I would have said give Nacho the X, because I liked her immensely. She just was such a different character for movies of this type at this time. Women were not doing this type of thing all that often. In a movie like this, they were typically the victims, whether it was just being murdered or by some kind of sexual assault. They were typically not this tough.
mid-sex scene, they get, stabbed.
Yeah, or she would be a screaming damsel in distress, which she never was. I mean, she gets captured by Jesse, but they're all knocked out. It's not like because she was a woman, he overpowered her. Everybody was out. So, and honestly, outside of the fact that Nacho she set up the trap. He just tripped it. But she's the one who deals the most damage to all the other characters by knocking them down on multiple occasions. She punches Charlie because he says something sexist. She knocks out the blonde girl because she says something disrespectful towards her, and then is like, Nacho, you could dump her and be with me. And she's like, oh yeah, punch down. So she's great. But I also, like, Nacho and Charlie are great too. Like, their whole thing, their rapport as characters was fantastic. And I liked them. They all came off as really kind of characters who knew each other, and I wanted them all to live. I was sad that Charlie died. So I would say, because you look at the poster, and it looks like a low-budget, ripoff. And when you read about it, it's like, oh, okay, it's people wandering around the woods, and it's a slasher. This is probably not going to be that good. It's very good. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's a great movie, because there's clearly budgetary limitations. You can tell that. But I really like the way the slasher looks. I like his costume, which I think was probably an accident of budget more than intent. but it works. I mean, Halloween was the same thing. It's not like they really had the budget to make a great costume. They just bleached a fucking William Shatner mask and put him in a jumpsuit. So I don't have any problem with that. And I think it's it's a quick movie, less than 90 minutes. I like the main characters. So I would recommend this pretty highly to anybody who likes slasher films basically because of Nacho Alejandro and Charlie. The narrative is, it's straightforward. There's nothing really surprising here. You're going to know what's going on basically most of the movie, but that's not really the point. The point is the characters, and I like the characters. So that's the reason I would recommend it. That's it. And yeah, it's subtitled, so you'll have to read. I'm sorry. I'm kind of glad it's not dubbed because, like I said, when I see people doing good work, I'd rather hear them in their native language. I'm not going to be able to understand it, but I can read. That's okay. So.
Well, I mean, like I said, it does sound different than a normal slasher film. There's different priorities. There's different archetypes. Right?
Yeah, there are. And they do, like I said, when he blows his hand off was a genuinely shocking moment because they took away one of the killer's main weapons, which was the bow and arrow. He couldn't use it anymore and doesn't. So he fell back to a gun, which, don't get me wrong, he still managed to kill 2 people pretty quickly. But he was doing this kind of cat and mouse thing with the bow and arrow for a while. Well, they took that away from him. He couldn't do it. Now, to do anything, he was either going to have to use the rifle, which would give away his position, or he would have to be up close. So I like the fact that they were actually they managed to do something. Because, in like a Friday the 13th film, they shoot him, he falls down, 2 minutes later he gets up, right? Freddy Krueger, until the end of the movie, you can't hurt him. He's a dream, right? So most of the time these characters are quasi-invincible until the final 5 minutes. And in this one, because they actually make him human and he has to react like a human being, if you take away one of his hands, he can't use a bow and arrow anymore. And there's this interesting thing.
Unless he started shooting it with like his feet and his teeth or something like that.
Well, or if he had switched to a crossbow, that would have been interesting to go, okay, because there is this kind of idea that he loses the precision of the bow and arrow and the silence of it because now he has to go to a rifle. So you've taken away one of his stealth weapons, which is interesting. I mean, the movie's only 80 minutes long. They couldn't do that much with it, but that is an interesting aspect that, oh yeah, if this guy is able to kill silently because when they find the first 2 victims, they've been killed by a bow and arrow, which does make me wonder how the local authorities thought it was a bear. But, again, you can't think too hard on a movie like this. You just have to keep moving with it. It's fine. That's okay. But it is interesting that now he has to either use the claw, which is up close, and these people all have guns, so they have range, or he has to go to a weapon that you can't use silently. It's not silenced. It's just a regular M16. So could he have made a silencer? Sure, but he didn't. And that's why basically once they see him, he just has to gun them down, and now they know he's there. Like, there is no more surprise. He's not sneaking up on anybody. But at that point, I think he's so pissed off he doesn't care anymore. So again, the movie kind of shifts in where even the killer works. So there's enough about it that I think is done better than you would expect from a foreign slasher film from 1989, where the main character looks like somebody just put Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, and Freddy Krueger into a blender visually and then set it in the woods. You tell somebody that that's what it is, and they're going to, okay, I know what this movie is. And it's not that simple. And that's why I think it's worth seeing. So there's a ton of these types of movies out there, and a lot of them are dead center 5 from a scale of 1 to 10. I would put this at a solid 7.5. I think this is definitely a cut above. It's not, one of the better ones, but it's up there. Well, I guess I should say it is one of the better ones. Just, it's not going to blow you away in every respect, and the only thing people might be disappointed is the kills aren't overly inventive, but I almost kind of like that better, that it didn't become about gore. It was more about the characters, because you stuck with them for a long time. So I kind of like that better anyway. But if you're coming into this expecting like big, elaborate kills and effects like that, no, that's not here. So that might be why some people were disappointed, because slasher films at a certain point did become about, okay, we know what this movie is. Let's see somebody's head get spun around and skewered and put through a Cuisinart, and then the eyeballs come flying at you, and that's what makes the movie fun. And that's perfectly fine. That's what Friday the 13th became.
And how well they do it, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Lucio Fulci made a career out of what is he going to do to the character's eyes. That is literally his thing. He has some kind of eyeball mutilation fetish. And anybody who knows Fulci movies knows that at some point you're going to zoom in on an eye and something horribly violent is going to happen to that eye, one way or another. So you can do that stuff, and you can have a lot of fun with it. But I also like movies like this where the characters are the most appealing thing. So, like I said, I would recommend it to anybody, especially because if you write off a lot of foreign films as ripoffs, which many of them are, give this one a shot. It is a cut above the rest. So that's it. That's all I've got for you this week, because I really like that movie. And when I really like a movie, I don't like to, unless the other movie is equally excellent, I don't like to dilute my reviews. I like to end on what I think people should watch, or avoid, but more often watch. And that's it. That's all. So have a wonderful weekend. Don't take bets where people say, let's go hunt a bear, unless you're really sure it's a bear and you think you can hunt a bear. Do a little bit of research. Maybe look at an autopsy photo or two and determine whether you think a bear can use a bow and arrow. Outside of that, do what you want with your weekend. Have a good time with it. And we will talk to you again next week. Visit OzoneNightmare.com to subscribe to new episodes, browse through our back catalog, or to find links to support the show. Follow @OzoneNightmare on Twitter for the latest episode postings and other show information. If 280 characters just isn't enough, you can always email us, theozonenightmare@gmail.com. The opening theme for the show is provided by Heartbeat Hero. The closing theme is provided by Ogre. Please visit and support these artists using the links in the show notes for each episode.